Hey, happy Sunday and welcome to Titans 2 Minute Morning. I'm here with Steve Conley, where we're going to discuss the upcoming Titans game with the Indianapolis Colts.
And stay tuned afterwards for Kiner's Corner. We'll be talking about how the Mets did today.
Okay, it's our regular Sunday Mazes and Muses chat. And of course, today is game day with my Titans being football season, and we are away in Indianapolis, so we get to go the full time here, and I don't have to rush off to a home game.
Yay!
Titans are favored by 2.5 points. Okay, enough football talk. See, I could be a nerd and a football fan too.
Apparently, yeah.
And just wait someday until my Angels make it back into baseball. And
it's all about the town, right? If the town has got a big sports interest, then you'll have a big sports interest. There's just nothing down here in Daytona. We have a farm team that Tortugas. So yeah, I'm not.
Well, you must have a favorite NASCAR driver then.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Name a NASCAR driver.
Lightning McQueen.
Okay, good enough. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there. Steve Conley, how the hell are you?
I the hell am good, Dan. Good the hell morning to you. My name is Steve Conley. I write and draw comics, and I create TTRPG content like the Emmy-nominated Intoximancy and the, as of yet, neglected Death Dealing. Oh,
that was something new. I hit a button and I have no idea. That was my fault.
No, I like it.
I'm like, what the hell is that? Oh, like I can show apparently things that pop up on chat, and it was easy. Okay. Anyway, I am Dan Taylor, and I'm learning how to use live StreamYard live streaming thing, and I'm not very good at it.
If you click on one, it'll show it it'll put their little logo on there. Like if they have an icon from their streaming platform, it'll tell you there'll be an icon to say which streaming platform they're on, and then you can just hide it. And we can set up banners and all sorts of cool stuff. That's what we do over on Pencil to Pencil.
Well, I'll get around to it. I'm a busy man.
A million things to learn.
I'm not so busy. I'm not as busy as I used to be able to talk about that. Okay, I'm Dan Taylor. I'm a creator of D&D and third-party content for role-playing games as well, and dabble in comic books and such. And I'm Dungeon Master for Catacombs and Comedians, a live D&D show, and Tennessee Titans football fan. But we established that. Okay, let's get on with things. What are we discussing first? What do you got going on, Steve? You lead it.
Well, I was going to ask you. You distributed your latest crowdfunding campaign. You start. Well, if you don't mind, let's start off with. I got a PDF for my Star Marshal support, which was exciting to see from Zoop.
Yes. Well, it was from me. It was crowdfunded on Zoop. Yes, I finally managed to get that out to everybody. All 48 pages of the digital version, PDF copy, plus the brilliant STL 3D file of the badge that you so graciously designed for me. Of course, some of the emails were bounced back because the files were too large, but only a handful, so I had to go through that. I mean, if you sign up for a digital thing, shouldn't you have I guess I could have provided links instead of just direct.
Yeah, I tend to if it's not a thing that if it's a book, I'm going to run it through my web shop so it gets watermarked. A little bit of DRM, a little digital rights management. This book belongs to Dan Taylor, that sort of thing. Or if it's an STL file, I make it available on Dropbox.
Yeah, I ended up having a link for the STL file because that was just way too huge anyway, and I compress it down to under 25, 4 megs for the PDF because I just figured I didn't want to give everybody another link just to click on. So 25 seems to be the cutoff on most of those.
I try to go below 10. If I can't get it below 10 megabytes, I'll do a Dropbox link or something like that. Oh, the joys of indie publishing in the digital age.
Yeah. But no, the last final touch we had to put on there was we did I don't know if you flipped through it, but at the end of the book, we have kind of the old comics back in the day used to have that hostess ad.
I didn't see that.
We have our own kind of ad at the back of the comic that we did. So
that's awesome. I thought I'd seen the final version when you had it done so many months ago. This was like, so you were so prepared.
That wasn't all the extra bonus material.
Sweet.
Because I'm going to put up the digital through the regular means like Comixology and drive-through comics and all that stuff. But that will not have the bonus 8 pages of material that this book has. So
That's awesome.
everybody got a deal there. But yeah, we did a little. They're called Star Mellows. It's the treat. It's the favorite of Star Marshals, and they save a ship full of marshmallow people. And yeah.
And what's the next step for the fulfillment of the other stuff, like the books and other...
I'm gonna let it sit out there, the digital file, in case somebody spots like a horrendous error.
Sure.
Or calls me on something that I can fix. And then I figure right after, like right before I head off for Gamehole Con, I'll hit the send button to the printer and have them print it. Because I figure that a week out there's enough time for, somebody doesn't catch something in a week.
Right.
No, if they catch it 3 months later, no big deal, Oh,
right,
well.
right.
But it would not be a Dan Taylor project if there wasn't a typo or some sort of error in the printed version.
It has to have one. That's how you're... Yeah. It's an Easter egg for people to find. That's
exactly. Everything I put out after being checked over
mm-hmm.
billions of times, numerous sets of eyes. And let's remember the way you and I first met each other, I was your editor. So I am a professional at making sure books don't get published without, with zero fuck ups. So
do you find it easy? I assume you find it easier to catch errors from other people's work than your own. Like you're kind of seeing the broad strokes. You're kind of like in the weeds of it all.
Yeah, but let's be honest. That was probably my worst skill as an editor, was catching those kind of little simple errors. I was more of a wrangler, talent,
right,
therapist type of thing. I understand. Look, I understand that life is tough right now, and rent's due, but I'm not going to pay you if you don't give me, the next 5 pages by the end of the week.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I ended up doing as an editor more than anything, was just yelling at artists for
Where's
art.
My stuff? Where's my stuff? Yeah.
So I had very little time to actually proofread anything. So which would more or less, sum up my very short-lived career as an editor. I think I was with IDW for 3.5, almost 4 years.
Wow. Well, this week I got my Death Dealing deck of cards. They arrived.
Time.
It was a...
Wait, I'm going to pick a card. Okay, I got it in mind. Guess which one it was?
Is this your card?
No, it was 9 of Spades.
Damn it. I was looking at the bottom of the deck. Was it then? Oh. Apparently we have no psychic powers. But the cards turn out great. They feel like cards. They feel like... I was afraid that they would feel like business cards or they'd feel like postcards. But these in your hand feel like cards. And that's what I wanted as much as anything else. The type is small. Younger eyes will have no problem with it. My old eyes, maybe less so. But it's not quite Magic the Gathering size. So we're a bit bigger than that. But they turned out great. When the box, it's been really rainy here in Florida, and when the box arrived, I checked at 11 a.m. I check again at noon. I'm all packed up, ready to go over to a coffee shop and work. Open the door, and the boxes are sitting there outside of the cover of my home. Like there's an awning. There's a cover area right by the door. They didn't put them by the door. They kept them away from the door. They put the small box on the bottom, large box on the top, like you do, and so it was teetering and soaking wet. And the prediction from when they were going to arrive was the afternoon. So they put them in the wrong spot. They teetered them, and I have all my gear. I got my computer bag and stuff. I put everything down, rush out there, grab the boxes. They're dripping as I'm bringing them into the house. I'm like, these are my cards. I see that. Is this a Amazon thing? What is this? What are these things? Are they coming from? Who knows what I ordered, or maybe they're, who knows? I see the return from the city where the cards are from, and thank the powers that be that I shrink wrapped every pack. I made sure every pack was shrink wrapped. I paid for the little extra, so everyone was shrink wrapped, and they were all fine. The boxes were falling apart as I was peeling them away. It was awful, and every card pack is fine. Hoy, FedEx, I curse you.
They are the worst. Well, DHL perhaps is the worst.
Really? FedEx was always the go-to ones. They were always the go-to ones for me, and now they're
UPS now. They got their contract.
Yeah, they're paying. If you want to get paid well, go to UPS.
Mhm.
So the cards arrived. They look great. So now all the orders are going out. Everything that didn't have card decks with the order, yours of course will be prioritized. Yours
of course, I better be on top of that pile.
Yeah, Monday morning, the first one I hand to the postal worker will be yours, and but yeah, so everything's going out the door. I want to have them all shipped before we go to Gamehole Con.
Why don't you just hold on mine until Gamehole Con? Save you the money.
You're dying to play it. You can't wait. You can't wait to have your. And I don't think it's going to save me money to fly it to Wisconsin.
Okay.
And plus, I like ticking it off the list. This week, I've been shipping out. I'm making room here. Some life stuff's happening. I'll talk with you about that offline. But I was making room. You saw last week I was in the featureless void, and I have T-shirts from previous Kickstarter campaigns, and I'm mailing them to my Patreon supporters. So every Patreon supporter said, "Hey, you want a T-shirt?" So I gave them all free away to So I'm mailing out all these T-shirts to make room. But some of those folks backed my Kickstarters, and I'm like, no, just get them out the door. Get them out the door. I don't care if it's going to save me $5. Just get them out the damn door. So it'll be silly. I know some people who ordered just the deck of cards are going to get a T-shirt and go, "This is not my deck of cards," and wonder why the thing they ordered in February is arriving after the thing they ordered last week. Cards.
Oh, well, it happens.
Yeah.
I've got, you know me, I love making my promo stuff.
Right.
I got to go through and organize it. I've got piles here and there, and the extra stuff I made for Star Marshals didn't fly off the shelves like I had hoped. So I got a lot of extra of that. I got a lot of Catacombs of Comedian stuff and everything. So yeah, I got to organize and get it all figured out, but I will find a way to, where I don't lose a ton of money on it, but yeah.
Well, I know David Peterson does this every once in a while. The cartoonist David Peterson of Mouse Guard, he will put together a mystery box of stuff, and it just gets a nice white box and just fills it with stuff, and mentions it on Twitch. I remember he was like, I didn't charge enough. I think because he was putting old art prints in there and stuff that's like, you can't really list it on your website. Well, you could, but there's like, you only have one of them. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what do you do with it? What do you do when you have like 3 copies of a zine or something like that? So he just made grab bags, and that worked out really well. Yeah,
because I've still got old Superhero Happy Hour, Hero Happy Hour comics, promo stuff. I got like coasters, for the Hideout Bar and Grill
Right, and it's not enough to add it's not enough to make as an add-on. I guess you could.
It doesn't make sense to add it as an add-on.
It just complicates everything.
Yeah. Why am I going to give you a Hero Happy Hour button for a Catacombs and Comedians thing? It's just not.
And then spend 30 minutes fighting the system of this, getting the image up there, resizing it to their system's requirements, adding the shipping and tax and all the crap you got to add.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's why I just moved it from home to home to home all these years. But this is the home I'm going to die in. They're dragging me out of this house feet first. I'm never moving again. So
that's awesome.
Time to get organized.
Well, you give the appearance of organization. I see.
So, don't I?
Yeah.
I have. Let's over here on this side a new print. I picked that up while I was in New Orleans. It's from Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. Great exploitation movie by Roger Corman back in the day. Highly recommend it. It's where this action figure over here is from.
Gotcha. That was really good. That was good weatherman stuff happening there. You had like
we got a cold front. But yeah, that's I was in New Orleans, and I did a lot of night markets while I was down there because I went down there for the Titans Saints game. My wife
night markets? What's that?
Night markets. We're just the artists set up little markets outside at night, type of thing. And it was very cool, and that's the one piece of art that I bought because I like exploitation stuff and B-movie stuff. So, but anyway, all right. So your Kickstarter is about done, and we're getting ready. And so you're going to launch Prayer's Handbook before Gamehole Con?
Yes, I have to. I think I have to. As stressful as it is. So this week I'll be mailing you. You'll be receiving a box of 2 boxes of stuff of mine for Gamehole Con.
Good.
With those out the door, I think at that point the die is cast. I'm still trying to get new pop-up banners made. They just keep getting rejected by the online system. I got these guys because they were fast, and I didn't know they take weekends off. Nice, must be nice.
I know. I got an essay for a book that the deadline is fast to, like, next week, and I got to finish that up and get that published. I mean, get that out to my editor.
All before Gamehole, right? So
yeah, I promised I'd get it to him this weekend, so I just got to finish it up. So
nice. Can you say what it's about?
It was another Kickstarter. It's from Ghost Show Press, and they're doing a book about movie flops. This is the 3rd book in their series. They did transgressional horror and submersive sci-fi, and this is about movies that flopped. And I'm doing mine on Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
Nice. That's Christopher McLaughlin?
Yes.
Awesome.
So I'm one of the authors writing an essay for that book, and I took a weird approach with it. I'm sure he's not one of our 2 viewers watching this right now. So, but I did this whole thing about where the studio executives are like playing a game called Movies and Megaplexes. And what actually happens when Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. Let's see how well your movie does at the box office. You rolled a 1, and then just explain it, from there on out,
So when you, I remember you talking about that when you agreed to write that essay about that movie. I think there was a question mark hanging over it whether it was going to be a flop or not, right? Like you thought maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was, maybe it isn't. I mean, I went into Paramount Plus yesterday and it said the #1 movie on their system right now, #1 trending movie is still D&D.
Box office flop.
Box office flop.
Yeah, it died in the box office. So.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed it has like a Galaxy Quest like life after.
I think we're getting a sequel, and of course that'll all be in my essay that you can read when you all get the book. I mean, the Kickstarter's already funded and it's done, but like all his great books on these movies, it'll be available, and I'll just send you my essay. So anyway, yeah, I got to get that wrapped up today after I watch the Titans kick the shit out of the Indianapolis Colts. I got to get my Catacombs and Comedians presents Catacombs and Creators at Gamehole Con. Let's talk about that. There's some stuff on that. I've heard from one of my players, Mr. John Kovalik, that he will be unable to participate.
Oh no.
He's having hip surgery and he just won't be at the show, or at least in full capacity.
Hip surgery? Jeez, Louise.
Or hip replacement or something. This is after he got a 2nd black belt Taekwondo over the weekend. So I'm a little, dude, why are you doing me this way? But anyway, it's when they scheduled it and he's going to get it. Yeah, I'm just going to bust Kovalik's chops here. If you're going to get out of something you promised to be a part of by claiming hip surgery, don't show all your Taekwondo videos.
How hard did someone hit him? I think it was during the black belt test. Somebody hit him with a chair.
It's something that's been lingering, apparently. All his sitting, doing his cartooning, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just busting your chops. If you ever
cartooning hip.
If you ever see this, John, I'm just busting your chops. So hopefully I'll see you at the show in some capacity, and heal well and get well soon. Anyway, so I'm out of player. I took a chance. And I haven't heard back. And I don't think it's going to happen, but I invited Chris Perkins.
Your buddy? I thought you might.
But he's not going to reply to me, and he's probably going to say he can't do it, and that's fine. So guess what, Steve Conley? You are going to introduce one of your...
What now?
One of your rogues or your Intoximancer at the Catacombs and Creators game Friday night at Gamehole Con from 6 to 8 o'clock.
Is that what I'm doing?
You're my 4th creator, yes. Unless I hear from, Perkins and he jumps in.
This is the worst offer.
No, it's not an offer. It's a requirement.
Fair enough.
Okay. I figured for you could play one of your characters, and it's promotion for because you'll have it at the show.
If Perkins says no,
and he'll say either I won't hear from him or he'll say no. So
if Perkins says no, so this is actually Parks and Rec, and you're Andy Dwyer, and I'm Perkins. No, he's Perkins, and I'm Leslie Nope. Wait.
Well, I thank you for accepting my invitation. I appreciate it.
I didn't hear a question mark. I don't think there was a question mark. That was a command. You cast power word, do it, and I'm going to do it. All right.
Yeah, no, because I figured that'll be a fun way to introduce your stuff. You'll roll up you make your character with one of those, and we'll introduce because Thomas, one of my other players, is using it from his system.
Cool.
So there'll be all sorts of characters.
What level character is they?
I think they're 4th.
All right.
But make yours whatever level it needs to be to utilize your thing.
15. Yeah, I'll pick the class based on which one does the which one has the which will be the most fun at that level.
At 4th level?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You got
so
it.
There you go. There you go. So it'll be fun. So yeah, I'm going to need you to real quickly design your character on Hero Forge real quick so I can get it to my artist and do your character art.
Holy crap. Okay, yes, I can. Absolutely.
Okay. Or if you're going to play the Death Dealer or the Intoximancer, just send me that one and you'll look like that.
Oh, I have an idea. I already have an idea.
Okay.
And who's doing the artwork?
Steve Coughlin, who does a lot of my artwork.
Okay, I have a piece. I already have an illustration of the person who's gonna. I know who's gonna be. It's gonna be former Archmage Angus MacGuffin.
Okay,
absolutely. Yes, I already have an illustration of him. I can get that to you today.
Yeah, send it to me, and then I'll send it to Steve, and we'll get all the promo stuff and advertisement stuff ready for GameholeCon.
Amazing. All right. Stress.
Yeah, tell me about it. So, in other Catacombs of Comedians news, I do not have a show in Knoxville this last Wednesday of October.
What happened?
They decided they'd make more money having Halloween shows, showing horror movies.
A horror movie show. Okay.
It's a movie theater.
Right.
So they're going to show horror movies, which is fine. It's a great. It's more of an art movie theater than it is a comedy club. So.
Right. And so they hadn't started selling tickets yet or anything like that.
Oh, my show was at the door.
I see.
So, it's no big deal. It's fine. It just saves me a drive out there. And I was going to do a big Halloween show because the Halloween shows are fun. And I still have a bunch of, speaking of merch, I still have a bunch of Catacombs Comedians Halloween stickers from last year.
That's awesome. Wait, I gotta bring dice to GameholeCon now?
Or you can buy some there probably.
I'm kidding.
Or I always bring dice for my players because they never remember. I bring dice and pencils and character sheets if I have their character on D&D Beyond.
That's fantastic. I'm so excited. I'm honored to be invited. Demand it.
Here's the deal. You were going to be it regardless because there's no way Perkins is going to be able to fit my little dog and pony show into his busy schedule.
Let alone finish his Hero Forge piece of time.
Exactly. So, I'm like, well, fine. Steve Conley, you don't want to be in my show? Sleep outside.
Well, Perkins can play Archmage Angus MacGuffin if he wants to. If he swoops in, he can have my character. I'm happy to let him play an Intoximancer. I'm
happy to if he comes by and watches the show, because he said he might try to check it out. So that's all. Nice. Yeah. So there we go. There is my mic hot? It sounds hot on my end. I don't.
Hot?
Yeah. Is it?
Anyway. No. It seems legit.
Okay.
Fine.
Maybe
a touch quiet still, but good.
My adjustments are all off. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, okay. So back to the tech. We'll cut that. We'll fix that in post. It sounds like my peas are popping.
I'm not hearing that.
Anyway, so so I'm done with Knoxville shows at Central Cinema for the season. I'm not doing any new shows at Zany's until they supposedly get this new room built and going, and there are no planned shows in Huntsville. So as of this moment, there are no planned shows in comedy clubs or other venues for Catacombs of Comedians.
But Huntsville is that's your sweet spot, right? They're the
the shows, the audiences were always there and they were great. But my number one in at the Huntsville Club is no longer at the Huntsville Club. And so the person who books the club is not as keen on Dungeons and Dragons shows as that person was. So I lost a little. Yeah.
That classic problem of like new editors come in and you're out of work. Yeah.
Like, perfect example is last year or so, IDW contacted me out of the blue, not the comic book side, but the movie entertainment side of IDW, saying, hey, you wrote a comic for us way back that we never published. Can we option that from you for first rights and movie again? And this is a story that I wrote with Neil Clyde. And we're like, yeah, go for it. And they ended up paying us each like $3,500 for it. And then 2 weeks later, the president of media left and a new media president came in and says, oh, we're not going to do it. So
did they ever get you the check?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
They bought my new computer. Yeah, that's why I'm able to stream and do all this stuff and play Starfield instead of writing stuff for Ghost Show Press. You didn't hear that. Great. No, so yeah, we got paid, and it was great. I would have rather seen that they were going to do a streaming TV show. That was the plan, and it would have made a great show, but oh well. So yeah, I've been paid twice by IDW for a product that was never published or produced.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and if they want to do that every 5 years, that's fine with me.
Lots of the stuff I've actually made has never gotten me that much money.
Yeah, I think I was paid. Let's see, how much did IDW pay for scripts back in the day? Not a lot.
So Star Marshals, which you made, that had a struggle, and the thing you haven't made keeps making money.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. That's life. That's a picture. The picture you post of your dog gets 800 likes, and the picture of the thing you worked on for 6 months get nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you get smart and you go, I will post a picture of my dog with the thing I make and see how that does, and then nothing. So.
Oh, really? Just the any product placement is immediately slammed.
Here's Jolene chewing up a copy of Star Marshal's comic book. Get your own, and then
makes a great chew toy.
Yeah, nothing. So anyway, so Capcoms and Comedians at this point now, other than I've got the Game Hole show. That's my last show, I think, and I'm taking this sort of on myself. That's my last show for the year of 2023. I'm going to spend more time working on Catacombs and Comedians, the online presence, and getting that online stream show up and running.
Awesome.
So I got that. There's that going. That was a horrible noise I just heard.
Do you need to check on that?
No.
We have our technical difficulty screen to put up. I can vamp.
No, it's okay.
All right.
I think someone may have just shot my dog, but I don't know. We'll find out. No, I'm kidding. It was just because I put them outside. So
the cat's got a gun.
The cats are upstairs. The dogs are outside. So,
all right.
It should all be good. I think. Oh, I know what it was. I opened up. It's finally fall winter here in Tennessee, so I opened up all the windows in the house and the door slammed.
Makes sense.
There we go. So you get a little insight. Not only do we talk about creative stuff, but you get a little insight on the lives of Dan and Steve. Delivery packages, slamming doors.
Well, the delivery thing feels like that's actually part of this stupid process of making stuff. Like it feels like, if you're going to make it yourself. I mean, have you approached any of the gaming companies about writing for them? Like is that a thing that you'd want to do? Do you, like, if Modifius, do you want to write, like, if someone's there's a Star Trek role-playing game, for instance, I always see that they just did a Lower Decks supplement. I think it was Modifius.
Yeah.
And, is that the sort of thing where they say, hey, we need someone to write up about the Orions of the TNG era? Is that the sort of freelance gig you'd look for? Or you're more like, I'll rather work on my own stuff on my own time?
I'd rather work on my own stuff at my own time, and I will tell you why. I did freelance once for a game company. It was Modifius.
Really?
It was for Star Trek.
Okay.
I was not paid well.
Uh-huh.
I was giving a PDF comp copy of the Star Trek Adventures, the first book. I worked on the first book.
Okay.
I did not get a comp physical copy. The money I made writing for their content for their book, which they used a page that I wrote in their previews,
Okay.
did not pay me enough to buy a physical copy of the book to have on my shelf.
And that's the stuff that's a story that's been going around lately about the terrible page rates that the game companies are paying, like 3 to 5 cents a word or something like that. 4? You split the difference?
I got 4 cents a word. 4 cents a word.
Yeah, it's like it is a rough time. I mean, those are pulp rates, and the whole
and I'm not here to call them out. That just
no.
I'm just stating the fact that's what I got paid. If anyone's interested, it was a fun project. I wrote all the fluff because I'm more of a fluff than a crunch guy, and you know that. I wrote the Klingon sidebar fluff in the first book. That's all me.
Wow.
I think they may have added a few more, but I wrote the fun Klingon stuff in the back on the sidebar to the main book, and it was a fun project. I loved working on it. It was great. I was hoping to do more with it, but I just could not justify working for those rates.
All right, are there any other benefits you can get from it? Did it get an Emmy nomination? Did the book?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because, I mean, you could be Emmy nominated TTRPG creator Dan Taylor.
I'll have to look and see if it did, but I don't. Did it work? Did it? I don't think it did. I mean,
don't know.
Then I'm just as good as you.
Better even. I don't think the Emmy nomination is a sign of quality. I think it's a sign of people. It's all it is a thing where you have this conversation with somebody and they say, it got Emmy nominated. They suddenly you realize you're to some people, not everybody, but to some people, like the Eisner nomination. It's like I'm just another cartoonist at San Diego Comic-Con. I said, oh yeah, Eisner nominated. And like, real? Oh, fantastic! Like it clicks something with people. Like, okay, you do work of a certain
quality.
Yeah, that good enough to confuse judges, that sort of thing. So that's interesting. All that story about the page rates lately have been remarkable. That how not page rates, excuse me, but the per word rates being so low, and that Matt Colville's company, MCDM, is the one that pays 25 cents a word, and he just based that on what he thought was fair given the gaming world he came from.
Mm-hmm.
So. But those low rates are terrible, and your complaint is like a Harlan Ellison one. Like, send me a copy of the DVD. They wanted Babylon 5. Somebody wanted him to be interviewed for like a DVD, and he said, "Okay, how much you want to pay me?" They're like, "Oh no, well, just not to pay you. We just want to interview you about it." Like, you guys haven't even sent me the DVDs. Like, he was like, so yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and I'd rather. And I love Star Trek to death. I do. And I love Klingons to death. And that's why I asked to be a part of the project.
Wow.
But why not? But I still had to answer to their formats, their setup, their schedule. There were still rules that I had to follow. So why don't I just pay myself a better page rate and do my own stuff under my own rules and my own format?
Yeah, you're not being paid enough to stop working on your own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that way all the time. Like that's why I reduced I try to do like one volunteer project a month, one project which is like way below my rate. The cover for Star Marshals. It's like when a friend asks you to help, you help them. And
I'm all for that. If somebody say, "Hey Dan, I'm doing this book. Can you write can you come up with the funny mushroom people for this adventure?" I'm all, for a friend, I'm all for it. I would jump. I would love to do it. I'd love to help out, If my name for some reason sells another copy of your book, I'm all for it.
Right.
But if a company is doing a license project and they're making a ton of, they're making substantial. I mean, it's Star Trek Adventures is a huge line. It's just, maybe they're paying their writers better now because they keep churning out books for it. But
there's so many people hungry to work on it. There's so many people hungry I want to write on Star Trek. I want to write Star Trek for a game thing where it feels like, well, this is. They get so excited. This is a thing. It's like I'm sure you felt that in the comic.
Oh, yeah, I totally felt that way when I did A, when I worked on the book, and A, when I worked on the comics way back in the day.
Yeah. It's a thing where it's like, here's the page rate, and then people are like apologetic about it. Well, it's all we can do. It's a licensed thing, blah, blah, blah. And it's not working on the comics, not a great page rate, but it's a thing where it's like, it's Star Trek. And so, I'm always going to be Star Trek artist, forever. That's like, it may not have paid well, but it'll pay off from time to time. So
no, and I went ahead and bought my own copy of the book, so I could have it on my shelf and say, "Yep, I wrote that." And then,
right.
Oh well. So
yeah, I found I did an illustration, a cover illustration for Mutants and Masterminds. I'd forgotten I had done that
for a Green Ronin.
Yeah, and I totally forgot that I had done that work. I mean, I knew that I had done it. I have the original art. I put it on, I list it on eBay every once in a while, see if anybody wants. Any Green Ronin fans want it. I think it got an Emmy nomination as well. So I am saying I'm a brand new TTRPG creator, fresh off the bus, and apparently I'm an old hand at this. I had no idea.
So that's our little bit on working for other people.
Not fun.
Don't do it. No.
And working for yourself isn't that great either.
No, it's not. But at least you can, it's easier to complain about your asshole editor if you are your asshole editor.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's also easier to let, you can slide on more work if you're your own editor.
Slide. I wish.
Well, not you. Not Conley has a much different work ethic than I do.
I'm working on the next cover. So far, I'm very happy with it. The cover for Meta Domain Cleric, the Prayer's Handbook. I'm very happy with it so far. I think I think it's going to be weird. I want it to be. I had this other idea. That we talk about this in the Magritte cover. There's a famous Magritte painting, one of his famous Magritte paintings, where there's a woman on a horse and she's in a forest and it's all these vertical trees, and he messes with sometimes she's in front of the tree, but not next to it. It was very meta. And I thought, okay, let me put that as the cover. And I started doing that. I'm like, this isn't working at all. And I came up with a whole other thing where it's going to be a full painting and the character's stepping forward and the foreground of it becomes white and blue line work. White with like the printing on the inside of the adventure modules, that color blue.
Yeah, yeah.
So like the idea that
cyan is
was it pure cyan they printed, or it always felt a little darker? Maybe just terrible printing on absorption on paper towel quality paper. But the idea that they're stepping forward and kind of there's a grid on the ground and there's it's stepping into the game a little bit.
I love it.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Is that cover going to be ready for GameholeCon?
Yes.
Cool.
Has to be.
Yeah.
I hope. Or I'll be working on it at the table.
I'm working on it during the Catacombs and Creator show.
I used to see Scott Kurtz would do that when he was on his early PAX episodes. He'd be at the convention and they're all sitting around the table. And I think it was Perkins or somebody DMing. And they're playing the game. He had his pad with him the whole time and he was just drawing the whole time. Like always. I love that.
As a dungeon master, that would drive me up the wall.
That they're not focusing?
Yeah. But speaking of dungeon mastering, I think I am going to throw my hat out there and do Dungeon Master for hiring.
Oh, wow.
Because I've got the extra time through the rest of the year. And I don't want to get, rusty DMing.
Right.
So there's a couple services out there, like Let's Game. What's the name of the game? Find a Game, Let's Game. Can't remember what it is. But, I'll just do, here for $10, $20, I'll DM for you.
Yeah, I know there was somewhere, wasn't it? But you don't like to use the VTTs, right?
Yeah, not necessarily. In fact, I would set it up to where we just do it like this. I'd use this,
right.
type of thing. And we would just, conference it. And then that way everybody has a video of it if they want it. I can use the video for promotion. Yeah,
I would see stuff like my buddy, my dungeon master was looking at maybe DMing some games online. He was in between gigs. And we had our regular weekly game. He's like, I want to play some more and play with it. Try playing with other people, get the other experience of other groups, and looked into it. And I don't know. I think having your background would be really interesting. The idea that you've done this in comedy clubs with comedians, that's huge.
Yeah. So, if I could, I just got to figure out where to stick it in my schedule.
Right. Because you have to give people a month to book it or something like that. Or how far in advance do they get to sign up for these things?
I wish I could remember I can't remember the name of the site that, that has offers it, but Roll20, you can find games there and people charge for it too, but I don't think I would use Roll20. I would, like I said, use this because I do more theater of the mind D&D than tactical, so I don't need a virtual tabletop, so to speak. But find whichever one maybe hooks up to D&D Beyond the best and utilize that. I've got. Let me show you this real quick. What do you think of that?
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Those dice are the old colors of the old dice that used to come out in the original games back in the day.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And is the idea that you, well, when you do these events like at Gamehole Con, a lot of the games charge people, but they're participating. Is there ever a situation where they charge to observe? Because that's what you're talking about, right?
I'm talking to participate, DM for people.
Right. But I'm wondering at the live events, is there ever a situation where you say it's $1 to come watch the game?
Yeah, there is. Our show Gamehole Con is not. It's free.
Right.
Because I have talent like you, and I can't charge for that.
That's fair. That's more than fair.
But so I just, again, that's one of the many things on my to-do list. Me and my stovetop of everlasting, going
the infinite burners of Dan Taylor.
Mm-hmm. I burn all the hair off my arms reaching for the ones in the
Every
back.
burner is covered with a spinning plate.
Yes. That should be the name of my media company, spinningplates.com.
All right. You just get working on the logo?
Yep. And then never do anything else with it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's exciting about doing that sort of thing. I still feel like part of we're now that it's October, we are now 4 months away from Zine Quest 2024.
Yeah,
I know you're not but I don't know if you're going to get roped in or not. I know you said no, but I've also seen you go I'm not going to do anything, and then but you've gone both ways. You've also said I'm going to do something, and no, I've chosen not to do it this time around. But then also no, and then you jump in with both feet.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
it all depends on what time of the day I've taken my medication,
and when if the muse strikes. Yeah.
Yes, it's that blame the muses, not me. It's blame the mazes,
blame the muses.
Blame the muses.
Is that URL available?
And all my faults in creating is not my fault. It's the muses or the maze. Either I get lost or I get distracted. And
that makes sense. Yeah. I think the next up for me is I'm working on various monsters and creatures because in order for the Kickstarter for, I don't think it's going to launch before Gamehole Con, because it's one thing to have the cover ready for Gamehole Con. It's another thing to have all the other supporting artwork. And I need to have a few more illustrations of the monsters and things like that to really make the page compelling for anybody to be interested in it. So I think I'm going to have.
But you can have a preview page, right? Like sign up for a notification on launch.
Oh yeah, and I have that now.
Yeah,
we have 160 something people queued up for now, so once I could put the cover up. Oh right, absolutely right. And then I'm also going to have at the table. I thought it'll be a QR code and the URL to go to the Prayers Handbook page, but I was hoping the campaign would be live. I just don't see that happening right now. It's 10 days away. I'm hitting the road in 10 days. I'm hitting the road. So I just don't see how I'll be able to get enough character and monster illustrations to make the campaign feel robust. And So I'll just promote it there at the show.
I think you'll do fine. I bet you get an extra 50 signups at the show.
Maybe. It'd be great to get. It'd be great to have that. So if I'm sitting behind the table and there's nobody there, at least it'd be nice if the Kickstarter was cooking while I was doing that. But I think it's going to be a great show. It's going to be weird. 4 days sitting behind a table. I wonder if it's going to be the same. Hey, nice to see you again. Nice to see you again. That sort of thing. By day 4, I'm like, okay, I've seen the same person in the same backpack 95 times.
Well, if you need to get up, I can sit at your table for a while.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I'll be your booth bitch, Steve.
I'm hoping we just get. I'm mostly hoping we're sitting anywhere near Jeff Easley. I just want to be sitting. I just want to. I want to chat with the guy. Where's my copy of the book? Oh, it's over there. I'm gonna get it. Dead Air.
No, it's not. Yeah, I love that cover.
Yeah, my copy from my $3.95 used copy that I got a million years ago. Yeah,
well, you got to bring it and have him sign it.
Absolutely. This is if I'll pack socks, underpants, and this book, and then everything else is optional.
Yeah, I will give you a T-shirt for Catacombs and Comedians in for the show because I don't want you out there on there with just socks and underpants.
So did you get postcards made?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. You are a pro. That's a thing where it's like when I need to have it here and I'll get it then. That's what I mean by pro. It's like how much time you have to do the things you do. It's pretty good.
I've got local printers that I can I don't need to worry about shipping so much that I can get it done. So and it's like 1 day, 2 day turnaround if that. So that's on the to-do list before I leave. The fact that I don't have to worry about, and I got to make sure that everything's ready for the actual show at GameholeCon.
That's great.
Too much. It's a lot, but it'll get done, and it'll get done. If not, I'll just fake it.
I don't know if you want to open up the can of worms today, but I'd love to talk about your plans for a Catacombs Comedian live show. I mean, the actual play. Like, what is the plan for that, and how is that shaping up? You were talking about one point about maybe not having comedians, but maybe having
funny people,
comedians. Yeah.
Still bumping and juggling a lot of things around. I've got a couple local comedians I'm talking to where I've got yes, let's talk. I just can't talk right now. I've got too much to go. Let's talk after. So I'll probably have more on that after GameholeCon.
That's great.
But it looks like, and it also depends on Zanies, whether they got whether the new room is opening up. But I am working on Catacombs and Comedians, the actual play streaming, which might not necessarily have stand-up comics that I know, but funny players who know how to play the game.
That's great.
That's what I'm working on. Yes. And I've set that up, and supposedly I've got that going on in my whole Wormageddon post-apocalyptic fantasy setting, where it's not necessarily the Catacombs and Comedians setting that I have now based on stand-up, based on stand-up comic tropes, but it's based, it'll still, because like Acquisitions Inc. is a perfect thing. It's a funny, humorous, entertaining actual play D&D game. And so I want to do, something along that lines where, let's make the game more fun than using the game to make fun. Yeah, it's hard. Any of that making sense?
Are you still thinking the fantasy genre or
something? Oh yeah. It's all, it's got to be straight Dungeons and Dragons type stuff.
And have you watched any of the new Acquisitions Inc.?
Yes, I love it.
Oh, do you like the effects and things they do?
It's fine. I wouldn't do that because it's a lot of effort. I mean, they've got a whole production team.
Sure.
Again, it's me.
Yeah.
And until my 7-year-old daughter Jean Louise gets good enough at that sort of stuff, I'm all by myself.
Right. Well, it seems like in the quest for D&D famous, that seems to be a logical, obvious step.
Yes, and that is why I'm working first and foremost to get that going, as well as perhaps doing this, detailer dungeon master game master thing.
Because the guy from D&D Shorts, he's running a campaign right now. I forget the name of it. It's on YouTube. It's on Kickstarter now. It's approaching $3 million. And I think what that person did was, they got a lot of attention during the OGL fiasco.
Yeah.
And built a huge audience. I mean, it's only 2,000 backers or something like that. Again, that number of orders cancels a comic book. So it doesn't require a ton of people, but it requires a certain amount of people so that a percentage of them would be motivated to take part in a project that you do. So building up your reputation.
Exactly.
And then to the point where when you do launch the Kickstarter, the crowdfunding for 4D20 or something like that, then they jump on board.
That is why I am taking it as a blessing that I don't have any live shows to do for the rest of the year, and that I can concentrate on getting the streaming shows up and running.
And he was saying, like, it is very, very, very kind way he writes his like D&D Shorts is producing a game with the help of my more talented friends. It's like, it's very humble. It's very, he's presented himself in a very kind way. I think that very inviting way for people to participate. And
well, he kind of came off, I don't know, rough or weird during the whole OGL. He's very clickbaity during the whole OGL.
Yeah, he was thick in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And was big on early rumors. I think he got some intel early on, some of which was slightly discredited. And then a lot of them also were like, suddenly every once in a while that it's a turn where it says, okay, don't be mean to the employees of the company. There's always someone who takes that turn of like, hey, it's okay to complain, but don't be mean to the employees. And I'm like, I'm not sure how rampant meanness was during all that, but there's still people who are smarting from the OGL thing. But let me ask you, you touched on at the end of last week. I know we're getting close to the end here, but you talked about the Evil Genius games and the Zack Snyder thing. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, let's dive into that. What did you learn? Because you do more research than I do.
Well, it seems as though Evil Genius Games, which is a company which apparently, according to Teos Abadia, is that
of Alpha Stream?
I think so. Yes. I watched their work on the Mastering Dungeons show with Sean Merwin, and they were saying that the Evil Genius Games has got like real backing, like investment backing, like serious money behind it. So they're not small fries in this situation. They are the underdog for sure versus Netflix, but they are not without their defenses.
Yes, I did watch the Banff podcast. Okay. With my good friend Mike Lafferty, who does that, and he had Owen on.
Okay.
And he had the CEO. I can't, Dave is his name. I can't remember his full name, but I believe the CEO from Evil Genius Games. And he explained the whole situation. I recommend checking that out. I'll send you a link for that.
And what's your takeaway on the whole thing?
Don't work with Netflix. I don't know. Let's let it. I kind of learned a similar lesson back in the day, and this is not as huge, but when the Orville came out.
Right.
I jumped on that to have the first podcast.
I remember
on the Orville, and I was the first. In fact, I was sanctioned by the people that made the Orville. Tom Castillo, one of the editors and associate producers of the show. I went to his office on the 20th Century Lot a few times. I got tour of the set. I shook Seth MacFarlane's hand on set when I was told, do not shake Seth MacFarlane's hand. But that's me. So, I went to San Diego Comic-Con with them, and they got me my pass and the whole 9 yards. And not the Orville people, but Fox. They sort of started want to steer the podcast a different direction. And when I wasn't really steering the podcast in that direction, they made it difficult for me to continue my podcast. So I stepped away and let the other guys take over. Because they were saying, well, Dan, they're saying you said this at the con, you said this at the con. And I'm like, no, I never said anything like that at the con. I'm like, and, I didn't reveal any secrets. I didn't do anything. So what I think it is the people at Netflix who set it up with, and this kind of like how we talked about how, this deal with IDW and they keep, they paid me and then they changed and, the people who set up the deal with bad Evil Genius Games maybe did not have everything lined up properly with the direction that people above them at Netflix wanted to go. So I think it's not Evil Genius's fault, and it's not the people who they dealt with at Netflix aren't the bad guys either. But perhaps there was a communication between the two forces at Netflix. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Communication breakdown. And that kind of happened with me and Fox and the whole Orville podcast, as well as, I'll just leave it at that. So that is my take on it. If you're going to, and I had experience working with Viacom when we did the Star Trek comic books way back in the day. I've had experience with Hasbro working on Transformers. Licensing and that sort of stuff with intellectual property, especially with big companies, is very, very fucking tricky to do. It's a minefield. And when you get lawyers involved and they have lots of lawyers and you get big bucks involved and they have lots of big bucks, there's more mines thrown out in that field you got to walk through.
Right.
They just, even though Evil Genius, and I'm behind Evil Genius on this one. I'm like, great. I would never do a Zack Snyder project, no matter how much you paid me. But you got to be extra careful when you deal with this sort of stuff.
Right.
And even if you say you're cleared for this, this, and this, you got to go back and say, are we definitely sure we're cleared for this, this, and this?
Do you feel like from watching that, we'll watch the BAM podcast. Do you feel like they were confident that everything they were doing was on the up and up? Like
definitely.
So they feel like the rules changed after the fact, retroactively, to punish them in some way or to achieve some other ends that this
not necessarily to punish them, just to
separate them from the project.
Well, let me just put it this way. I hate lawyers. You know why they don't make boots out of lawyer skin? They're too slippery. I hate litigious operations. Here's what they own. They pay a lot of money. They are on retainer. They have a lot of lawyers that they use a lot of money. I think the more that these lawyers are able to squeeze pennies out of other ways to make their existence viable and needed by these companies, they will go those route and say, look, head of Netflix, I can save you an extra $5,000 because of this. That's all we got to do is stomp on this little company. Do it. Right. That's kind of thing.
Would you ever want to create a licensed game? Like would you want to license something like Orville and make a game out of it? Is that something you'd want to do? Or is that something that's like, again, it falls into, I'd rather work on my own IP?
I'd rather work on my own IP. I like the idea of Orville.
Right.
I'm going to work on something similar to that.
Right.
And seriously, check this out. Project way back in the day, I didn't even unwrap the stickers. AWA, that is my Orville type project. A game. I was going to use icons to do a sci-fi Star Trek game, more or less, but
that's great.
I can't remember what AWA stands for.
American Wrestling Alliance.
No, I don't, but yeah. So I would very much love to have a Land of the Lost role playing game, but I'm not going to go to Sid and Marty Krofft or
That's interesting. Yeah.
So why don't I just create a, instead of Land of Lost, I do, I don't know, Valley of the Wanderers or something, do something similar.
That's smart. That's a lot of what I'm seeing from like that game we're talking about from D&D shorts, and also that one that was very much inspired by the Studio Ghibli work. And it was like they didn't get the license; they just said inspired by. And the D&D shorts one had very much an Avatar spin to it. Be a didn't say Earthbender, but it's like bend the elements, something like that. Like clearly with an Avatar-like character in it. So
if somebody wants to go to me, look at me and say, Dan, your post-apocalyptic games just like Mad Max. How come you didn't do Mad Max? And I go, because I didn't want to deal with licensing.
Right.
I could call mine an homage. I can call it a love letter. I can call it a tribute.
Right. But there's a million movies and things in that genre, and Mad Max wasn't the first one.
Yeah.
So like, it's my Metal Storm, the Destruction of Jared Sin.
So I never, ever, ever like, I love my Star Wars, but if Dave Filoni called me up and go, Dan, let's work on a Star Wars show together. I don't know,
Really?
Okay, maybe I would do that.
That one seems like that was like that one seemed like one where like I think I'd bite.
But maybe if they said, Dan, do a role playing game based on the Star Wars Filoni verse.
Well, yeah,
I might not. I go, no, it's I'm okay.
That is right.
I don't. And here's another thing. And this is a reason why it's hard for me to do crowdfunding type things. I hate disappointing people. Even when I sent out that PDF of the book, I go, people aren't going to like what, aren't going to dig this. So I don't want to disappoint.
So you thought that people would be getting you think people would be getting not what they expected. You thought that they would be expecting more
and the work that I do for people might not be what they expect or what they wanted. It's just,
gotcha. Is that imposter syndrome?
Probably. And if I'm my own boss, I know what I know what I'm going to turn in at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I'm a complicated man, Steve, with a lot of self-doubts.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe if I was 26 doing all this stuff, I'd be all for it.
Well, yeah, your confidence seems to decrease with age. When I was 24, I was so much more sure. I knew so much percentage-wise. I knew so much more back then, because I didn't know how much I didn't know.
I've been served a cease and desist from Marvel and DC. I've had multiple projects greenlit and then dropped at IDW, both comics and in television and movie production. I dealt with Hasbro and Transformers. I dealt with Viacom and Star Trek. I've dipped my toes into a lot of this already.
Right.
So it's not worth it to me.
Right.
And Godspeed those that still find adventure and thrills and the desire to do it. Because I would love a Filoni Star Wars guidebook or whatever for a role-playing game.
Right. And the thing is that when people lose those licenses, it's like, okay, you have to sell your remaining stock. You can't print more copies. It's like you can have this thing and build this thing. I'm sure there's someone who's like, who had some license. And now I saw this in the comic book world where there was a company that had a license and someone came in and snapped it up from under them. And so, okay, you're out of that thing that you've been building is not yours anymore. And so owning it yourself definitely makes the most sense. I'm on the same page with you there.
And it's, and I like to toot my own horn. In fact, look how clever I am. I came up with this. This is mine, rather than I may come up with the neatest, force using half droid, half Wookiee creature in Star Wars. But at the end, I'm not going to own it. and nobody's gonna, and somebody else will take it and butcher it in a direction I don't want it to go into. And so I will probably never do any more work for hire with a license type thing.
That's fair.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, if you came to me and said, Dan, I want you to do a middle, give me an 8-page backstory for Middle Ages,
Right. It's a person, it's not a company.
Exactly. I would love to play in that sandbox.
Yeah.
Or if you said, Dan, help me do the Middle Age role-playing game,
right.
I'm all in. But don't.
The way Sly Flourish helped MCDM with his Flea Mortals book. Like, I guess Sly wrote the vampire section. So it's like, that's the sort of thing where you'd be like, if a company that's there, but it's not a big licenser, like, if they're creating something original.
Exactly.
Like you would do something for Pathfinder, right? Like that doesn't feel like a.
Probably not,
Gotcha. So it's a gut check.
Yeah. It's a gut check. I don't, at this point, none of anything I work on is not to pay the rent.
Right.
So I don't have that hanging over my head. I don't have to say, I'm going to work on this. I will make so much money making the Dave Filoni Star Wars Source role-playing game book. Because I'm not going to. It's a role-playing game book. Or, and it'll be great on my resume and they'll give me more work. Because at this point, I don't,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to make this vanity project that I'm having fun with that puts a smile on Steve Conley's face when I talk about him every Sunday morning. Because I find value in that. And if 20 other people buy the book at the end, I'll move on to the next project. I'm a happy man because I just created. It's the creation is more fun for me than I don't know. I don't know where I am anymore.
That's a good note to end on.
We got a little deep on that one.
We'll reorient ourselves and we'll be back here next week.
Next week will be our last one before the Game Ho Con. So we'll do our checklist and make sure we're all good to go. You're flying up Wednesday after this?
I am. And I get there very, very late. I get there my plane gets in 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
I'm leaving about 2 o'clock from here in Nashville. And if I drive all the way up there, I'll get there about the same time. So
yeah, but you said you were going to take a break somewhere, right?
I'm saying I'm taking
a break. You're smarter than that.
Yeah. But watch me show up at your hotel door. You gotta let me in. Let me
know. Keep me posted.
I have no idea, but I did already buy myself the Audible book of Patrick Stewart's memoirs to listen to the drive up and the drive down. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's awesome. All right, my friend.
I will chat at you next Sunday.
All
right. May all of you make your saving throws and go Titans.